Hi, I'm Tammy, coming to you from my home office, which is my only office, and I thought I would start building courses a few years ago based on what I do in my profession, which is change management and talent and leadership development. So about 5 years ago, I started building the courses. I've been in the business about 25 years doing this type of work. I love it. It is exciting and I love change. I don't always love change, but I decided that long ago, change can be a good thing and to just embrace it and figure out how to do it well. And so I went into the field of change management and I've really enjoyed it, and talent and leadership development as well. So my first course will be a series based off of how to be a change leader. I recorded this probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I hope you enjoy it. I would love your feedback. Would love to get just your feedback on the course and how it came across. Is it relative to you? If it's not, I would love to know that too, and what would make it relevant, because I'd love to provide content that is useful to you. So thank you, and I really hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Tammy Darty, and I am so excited to talk to you today about how to be a change leader. Did you know that it ranks as one of the top 3 leader skills of the future? Whether you're an executive, a frontline manager, or even an individual contributor, you can be a change leader. And it can be such a fulfilling role. It can be used to lift a team up and unify them around a common goal. You can move ideas and progress forward and experience shared successes as a team. Nothing does this like leading change can. All leaders at all levels must oversee and manage change in today's environment. Change management is no longer confined to process re-engineering, operational, or technology improvements. It is now much bigger, woven into the fabric of the very business itself. Having this leadership skill will be a part of everything you do to get things done every day. I have spent over 20 years working with Fortune 500 companies, helping leaders and individual contributors lead change. Over that time, leaders have become more aware of this concept. But fully understanding how to lead change, well, this is the gap that I do see. And the reason why? Because there are nuances to it that leaders sometimes don't get right, or sometimes do, but it makes or breaks the situation. The result, trust can erode, which, as change emerges, is in short supply to begin with, and erosion can take place quickly. But to degrade over time is what happens, and it's based on the actions or inactions of leadership. Over the next 50 minutes, I hope you see things you never thought of in these terms before. Today, I want you to get uncomfortable with your status quo and get excited about your future. That no matter your role, you can and must lead change. So buckle up. It's going to be uncomfortable at first, but the ride does smooth out after a while, just like it's supposed to be. So let's get started. All right, today we're going to talk about the aspects of leading change well. How do you set expectations? What does that mean? As a leader, how do you ensure your vision gets the buy-in you want? As an individual contributor, what is your role in the vision and the buy-in process? You do have a role. What is a coalition, and why do you need it? How do you build one? If you're an individual contributor, how can you help, and what is your role? How do you lead change networks to fully harness their power? As an individual contributor, why would you want to participate? And when you do, what exactly is your role? When communicating, what are the expectations? How do you do it in a way that leads well and establishes trust? What are those nuances? As an individual contributor, what is your role in communication? How can I and why should I ensure there is 360-degree feedback as part of my approach? What intrapersonal and interpersonal skills do you need to cultivate? This session breaks the strategies down into a manageable set of critical skills that anyone can learn and cultivate. So, we live in arguably the most exciting time in history. We're seeing things that no one ever dreamed they would see in their lifetime. No, I'm not talking about a global pandemic. We could use no more of those. But even with that, we're learning things and we're teaching ourselves things about ourselves and our culture going through that difficult experience. And after all this is done, we hope that we're better individuals because of it. But honestly, whoever thought that living on Mars would ever become a possibility, and that we could produce enough wealth for a private citizen to even help fund it. And can anyone really explain to me how the internet works? I mean, how does information move, really? And now there's 5G. I was trying to keep up with what 4G meant. What about artificial intelligence? Did you know that AI is impacting the future of virtually every industry and every human being? And then there's machine learning, the ability for machines to learn and improve from experience, not programming alone, where they can access data for themselves and learn from it. Kind of scary and kind of exciting. Talk about change. If that does not encourage you that leading change is something everyone can benefit from, I don't know what possibly can. So let's start our conversation on leading change with some basics. What do people go through when change enters into the picture in our work or in our personal lives? An early concept of this evolved from the work of a 20th century Swiss psychiatrist named Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She wanted to answer the question, how does one cope with a traumatic and distressing experience at work or in their private life? She studied terminally ill patients, and from this, she developed the 5 stages of grief and loss, which is the model we use in change management. It is called the change curve. This is an emotional behavioral time continuum, you could say. You start with the shock phase, so change enters into the picture. You don't really believe what's going on, so you're then in denial. Well, not really sure what's happened. Then you start to recognize that things are really different. You start to come to realize that, wow, this could be real, and you get frustrated. Then you go into possibly what they call depression or sadness or low mood state, where you lack energy because you just are overwhelmed what the change is bringing on. Once you've hit that low area, then you start to realize, okay, I've got to deal with the change and I have to figure out what to do. So you start experimenting with the new situation. You start to think through it and say, what if? Then you get to some decisions and you say, okay, I need to figure out how to work in the new environment with the new changes. And you start to learn and you build the skill set. And then you integrate in the new changes into your everyday. And hopefully, as you can see, you're a little bit better for the experience. I believe all change helps us to become better people and to learn how to grow and to constantly be learning. By understanding how people react to change and grief, we can now put plans in place to help people go through the change curve, many times at an accelerated rate, so that you can achieve business results. And that is really the nice thing about the curve, is understanding that so you can act and do something about it to help people. So there are 7 aspects to leading change well. We'll discuss what each entails and accelerators on how to lead those well. So let's go through the big picture here. You want to set expectations with your people. As an individual contributor, what can you expect during times of change? Having these expectations helps facilitate trust. It gives teams permission to hold leaders accountable, and it helps teams see that change is in the norm and it's expected, and the organization cares enough to support them through it. You'll be able to create a vision as well for whatever it is that's changing, whether you're driving the change or other people are driving the change, and how that impacts folks. Or maybe you're initiating changes on your team or just your function to be able to help with that vision. What is going to help you sell and garner support from executives, your peer leaders, and your team? How do you define those strategies for change? I talk about coalitions a lot too. For our purposes today, though, we are going to cover diving deep into the specifics of stakeholder management, how to truly understand them, and specifics on how to manage them well. I also talk a lot about change networks, if you've heard me talk before. Today, we're going to focus specifically on how to build them and how to lead them well, and the nuances and differentiators that help you make it work. And then the good old 360 degrees of feedback. Everyone knows they need it, but when it gets down to it, do we really like it? No, we don't. It's easy to find excuses to not make it happen, but feedback will only make it better, and we don't want it to fall off the radar. And last, you definitely need interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. Those help keep you sane. So what are those top things that you can be thinking about there? So, always a good place to start. We're going to talk about expectations.